So initially I wasn't going to make a second part to this video, but I figured that I should because there were certain layers to this that I did not touch on during my last one, and I also feel that some people misrepresented or mistakenly misinterpreted parts of my arguments in the last video. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I do highly suggest pausing this video now and watching the last one for more context. I'll have it linked in the description, but basically this is regarding the Pokemon Legends release date and stuff to that effect. Anyways, let's talk. Okay, so firstly, as I stated in the last video, we don't have more than a few minutes of gameplay to work with regarding Legends Arceus, and my video was addressing the fact that I'm concerned with what we've seen and that given the past behavior of the Pokemon Company or Game Freak or whoever you want to point at, the concern is justified. Never have we seen a game drastically change before launch. This has never happened with Sword and Shield like people were saying it was gonna, and it's probably not gonna happen here. Being able to vent one's concerns is not toxicity. I never stated that the game will suck or will have a lack of content, but I did state that I'm concerned that it may. If you're someone who gets offended or defensive over merely someone's concerns with a game, then you need to reevaluate your stance and why you think that way, because honestly, it's nonsensical. I've been a Pokemon fan for well over 20 years since the Gen 1 days, and I've watched the series change over time, and nothing I say regarding it is to pander or to hate on the game. You guys have subscribed to this channel for genuine monster taming content, and I provide that for you guys because it's what I love to do, and I'm not going to hold back my concerns because it makes some people feel more comfortable with the release of the game. Anyway, so I've seen a few comments saying that the footage we saw in the trailer could be much older, and many people are just making assumptions about it, but the same goes both ways. If we have a 9-year pattern of 3D Pokemon looking almost exactly the same a year from launch as a final product, then the default thought should be that this is no exception. Anything else is simply arbitrary and hopeful thinking based on no precedent. The idea that these games have been in development for some crazy amount of time has also been thrown around, but that's more than likely not the case when considering patterns. It was likely started as soon as Gen 8 dropped, just like the 8th generation was started as soon as Gen 7 dropped. They've always managed their team this way up until now, so assuming that they've been working on this game for anything longer than a couple years is not only not really relevant to the situation, since we're still a year from development and we've seen in the past that games tend to look the same a year after their initial reveal trailers, and that goes back to the whole hopeful thinking thing. Anyways, it's fine to have a positive stance towards the game or to be hopeful or whatever, but to act like there's no reason to be concerned and people who are concerned are just crazy, given the track record of the Pokemon Company, is to be willfully ignorant. Anyways, my concerns don't stop at Legends Arceus, and this is kind of what I want to talk about here. I also feel that given the new box art and the sort of release dates being so close to each other, it does point to the fact that these Gen 4 remakes really might just be one-to-one remakes. Again, I can't prove this, but I'm allowed to be concerned about it. Firstly, with regards to like bringing back Mega Evolution, you'd think the first thing they would do is slap on some Mega Stones to Dialga and Palkia, but we clearly don't see that in the box art. It's just the generic legendaries with nothing really special about them. The Legends release date being so soon after the Gen 4 remakes make it seem that these games aren't meant to be enjoyed for a very long time and are simply to tie people over for a couple months, which is really disheartening since I think Legends is a really cool idea and an interesting concept, but I really felt that Diamond and Pearl remakes are getting the shaft here this time around. If they truly are just Diamond and Pearl running on the Switch, I can't say or tell anybody in good faith that it's worth $60 USD or $80 CAD if they have the same amount of content as the DS games, not even Platinum, just Diamond and Pearl. These are legitimate concerns to have, regardless of how much gameplay we've seen, because the Pokemon Company has established a behavior, and it's oftentimes said that the best determinant of future behavior is past behavior, and they've done nothing up until now to prove otherwise, so of course the default feeling towards these games is going to become concern, plain and simple. I'm not saying that, yeah, they're going to be bad and void of new content, but based on what we've seen and the history of the company, there is a reason for concern, especially as of late. It doesn't matter how many gameplay trailers we see until we get the definitive answers to some of these questions. The default feeling is going to be concern, and for good reason. Also, I wanted to talk about the optimization issue for a second because I was accused of not knowing how Game Freak develops their games, which is absolutely not true. So I brought up the optimization issues that Game Freak has had since Gen 2. Pokemon games have actually followed the same design philosophy since Gen 3, at the very least, as I have experienced ROM hacking that specific generation alongside sort of peeking my head into the others. others. Game Freak literally copy-pastes assets, for example, for all their games, creating tons of clones of the same characters all over the world in order to have them spawn in specific points. A great example that was brought up back in the day was Lily from Sun and Moon. On every map that she is supposed to be present on, there is a copy of her model pasted on that map, instead of them having a routine to just spawn the original asset. What this means is that there are going to be several Lily models all over the game, wasting tons of space, causing optimization issues. If they continue doing this in Legends Arceus, they straight up won't be able to have a lot of content in the games because the Switch won't be able to handle their outdated design philosophy. It wasn't a huge deal with pixel sprites being like Gen 3, Gen 4, even Gen 5, but ever since we got 3D models, there has been lagging issues, and you could say, well, the 3DS is weak, but Monster Hunter Stories runs just fine on that console and has a lot more of a world to work with. This also ties into why the pop-in is probably so bad in Sword and Shield. Some of the concerns we have are not just based in, oh, well, Game Freak sucks. Like, these are legitimate problems that Game Freak has, and I'm not saying, oh, they're terrible developers for doing this, but this is a legitimate thing and does not just come out of nowhere. Unless they change this about their design philosophy, the games physically can't have the amount of content that a lot of people are expecting. Anyways, that last part was a bit of a tangent since I wanted to make it clear that I'm not talking out of my ass. I really do have concerns for the games. There's literally no reason to think that Game Freak or the Pokemon Company are going to put more effort into these games when they didn't do that with Sword and Shield, and the game still sold so well. It's sad to see that the Diamond and Pearl remakes are really going to get the shaft not being fully compatible within its own generation, which is confirmed, and it potentially might not even offer anything more than the original Diamond and Pearl games from 2006. My concerns could be quashed in the future, but there's no compelling evidence to suggest that my concerns aren't at the very least warranted. And the only arguments I've seen stating that they aren't are appeal to ignorance fallacies that suggest that until you have the game in your hands, you can't have any concerns and must blindly stay neutral or positive towards them, which if you're going to accuse people of being toxic for being concerned, I'm going to accuse you of being positively toxic for being overly optimistic for no good reason. Doesn't feel nice, does it? Anyway, the goalpost keeps moving as it always does. We've only seen one trailer. We've only seen 2 trailers. You haven't played it yet since it's not out. Oh, it's out, but it could be patched. Then the final form of this being, well, I spent this many hours playing. Meanwhile, the person was like shiny hunting, something you could do in any game. Anyways, this concludes my sort of thoughts on the current situation, both parts, if you will, and the discourse surrounding it. If there are any new developments, I'll definitely let you guys know my thoughts. And if we do get news that completely changes my opinions and concerns so far, I'll definitely let you guys know. I'm always open to having my mind changed. And I went into these announcements a few months back with cautious optimism, and I'm more than willing to still give these games a chance. I'm not writing them off. I'm just concerned. Anyways, with that said, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.